And now, the Expressway QuaranTeaTime with your host, Zachary Rabin.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to QuaranTeaTime Episode 3. My name is Zach Rubino, and I'm joined by Jim Madison and Augie Kim from Expressway. And our special guest today, we have the Optic Sky production team. With us is founder and cinematographer Aaron Gordon, director Sullivan Slentz, and production designer Leah Glickman. Hey, guys. Thank you for joining us. How you all doing tonight?
Doing good.
Good.
Hunkered down.
Yeah, for sure. So I really want to thank you guys for coming on and do this. We've been working with the Optic Sky team quite a bit in the past couple of weeks, and it's been a really fun experience to get to know you guys and get to meet you. We have a project, I think, that we've been collaborating on that we're going to look at the end of this show. But one of the things when we were kind of just looking over your website the other day was we came across your 2018 show reel, and it seemed like a really great way just to introduce Optic Sky to the audience. It seemed very fitting. And yeah, let's play that, and then we can talk from there.
First off, let me just say that we are so excited to pitch some ideas to you guys today.
Yeah, we have a lot of really great ideas, and I think you're going to love them.
Oh, wait. Who are you again? Are you the painters?
No, we're actually from Optic Sky, the production company.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And who are they?
Don't worry about that.
Pretend they don't even exist. Totally. So, anyway, our idea starts off a little something like...
Okay. I actually really like that. But do you have anything a little more?
Yes. So glad you said something, because I got 2 words for you.
Whip hand.
Yeah.
Nice. I really love that reel, guys. You guys nailed it with that. What's it like looking at that like 2 years later?
I don't know. I still love that reel. I
do
feel
love
like
that reel.
it's still who we are, but just older footage.
Yeah. There's one cut in there that Aaron wanted me to take out so bad, and I'm so happy that I didn't. It's one of my favorite cuts in the whole thing. And it's the 2 shots of the old lady's face where she's like serious into the camera and then she's smiling into the camera. It's just like, why is that even there? But I love it.
Yeah, nice. We were all looking at, through your material and content, and this just kind of stood out to us. I don't think we would generally, present a show reel, but I think for anyone that's ever worked on a company reel, it's really hard to make it more than just images over music. And you guys did such a good job. Could you talk about that creative process?
Oh man, sorry, that's your brain for sure.
Oh man. Well, I don't know. The creative process was actually me and the other guy who's in the actual pitch. His name is Corey, and he's one of our writers and editors. And there it is again. And yeah, so we just kind of sat down, and he came up with the idea. He's like, what if it was just a pitch session, and we're just crazy. And we have this entourage of dudes with black turtlenecks, and they're dancing. And he gave me this pitch for it, and I was just yeah, no, that's absolutely what we're gonna do. And the process of it was really, really fun. Just kind of writing it, and we were like, this is finally something that we can just be completely ourselves. You know what I mean? Everything else you have clients and everything like that. So it was nice departure from that and just doing something that says us. We haven't been able to come up with an idea to top it yet. You notice there's no 2019 reel quite yet.
It's true, man.
I
It's
mean-
like one of those. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go for it.
I was just gonna say it's like one of those pieces. I remember like the day before we put it out, we were like, we love this thing. Is this a good idea? Like we were like, is this a good idea before we put it out? And that's when we knew we were like, yeah, it's a great idea. Like the fact that we're even questioning, like we're like, absolutely, like let's do it.
Yeah. We had like just rebranded too. It was like hot off the rebrand. So we were like, well, I guess this is who we are now. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's such a good
Yeah.
representation. I love that moment where you're in you're in the guy's arms and you're looking over at the client. That's so funny.
I think that was it was almost funnier even on paper when we wrote that in, because we wrote a lot of the edits into the script actually, because we were like, oh, this transition might be really, really fun there. Yeah, there I am.
Nice, nailed it.
That's my LinkedIn profile picture right there.
This is sultry.
Aaron, are you the drummer in the background in one of the like turtlenecks?
I am the drummer. It is both what I actually am in real life and also probably what I am for the business. So it's
Interesting. So how important was it for you guys to really create like an original and unique reel? You don't see many like this. Did you want something that gave a sense of your style, or were you looking for something that just really stood out?
It's a great question.
I think both. I mean, obviously you want to tell the story of you like in your reel. We did want something. Our initial thought was we wanted something that shows our style, shows what we can do, while inserting our personality into it. You know what I mean? Because like that's half of it, to know, hey, this is who you're going to be working with. So that was that was kind of part of the plan for sure.
I feel like a lot of people, the whole show reel thing, I think like became like all about production value and like the quality of people's footage for like a long time. And like even as a company, like we kind of came in during the time where there was like this conflict between like online content and like broadcast quality, and like kind of merging in the middle, and then online surpassing broadcast and all sorts of stuff. And I feel like for us, we were just like, well, it's a leap moment. Like there are going to be people that have better footage than us for sure, that have $2 million budgets, but we're like, we can definitely like out personality them like any day. So we were like, why not?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great. It was a great approach. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about Optic Sky in general. When was it founded? Where are you guys located?
Yeah, man. It got founded. We're about 6 years old. It was founded January 1st of 2014 on paper, and just with the mission of I don't know if I'm gonna get censored here. Just kidding. But we just want to make cool shit. It's like our whole mission statement, right? And Sully and I we ended up working together on this like smaller project. And ended up like doing like a bunch of like features together, and in like the weirdest, wackiest feature experiences ever.
Man.
And like came back and we're like, let's do this dance, and the bromance has only increased since. And basically, yeah, we started in Rochester, New York, and we've had like a little satellite down in the city for a while, but all the staff mostly is up here, and we just want to make really fun commercial content and not do like the same boring thing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
You said you started working together in feature films. Is that what you said? What were you guys doing?
What were we doing?
What were we doing? That's a good question.
So
all
I was
doing
DITing a lot,
Okay.
and I was like the tech nerd, and then Sully came on for one of them to like do on-set edits. And
Yeah.
we were just kind of like the DIT on-set edit like
Well,
do?
I started out doing on-set edits, and that was like cool. And then after the first week of filming, they were like, "We hate our scripty person," and we fired him. And so now we need a scripty person. And
Forgot about that.
I got a call, and I was like, and Aaron was like, "Hey, Sully, you're gonna scripty this feature," and I was like, "Oh, all right." So I ended up, yeah. So that feature, we ended up. Aaron was DITing, I was scripty, and then we ended up taking the footage back and editing the whole thing too. It was fun.
Dude, it was a wacky process, and they were just like wacky films, man. I mean, like just these like weird scripts that we just like jumbled in post, and yeah.
Edited a improv horror film back
That was cool.
2015, Screamers. It's pretty good. If you've seen it at all.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when did you guys decide you wanted to like work on commercial stuff, or do you still do like narrative production?
We haven't done it in years. I think the commercial thing was like kind of the original vision, but like features were like at first we had like no clients, so like features paid the bills, and you know, like working an 18-hour day was like whatever. We got like our hotel paid for and meals paid for, so we were like whatever. And so it was good memories. But yeah, I think like I personally, I can't speak for side. I personally always loved commercials because I'm like super ADD. And I'll be the first to admit that like the worst feeling is like you're on a feature and like week 2 you realize that the script is actually garbage, and like you're crewing on this feature and you're like, oh, this is like a bad movie, and you're on it for like 8 weeks, and like you come out of there with like awesome camaraderie and like, you know, best friends with the crew or whatever. But you also walk out of there being like, I got paid like a real bad rate to make a real bad movie, and now I
haven't seen.
I can't really go to the next
friends.
person.
Yeah.
So and like thinking about commercials was like we just saw, like, especially in this market, I wanted to make cooler stuff, and everyone was playing it pretty safe. I think it was safe to say it was like, I think a mixture of like people all were fighting for the same clients that were playing it safe, but also like they were comfortable with those clients, so like they didn't like really push them hard. And you know, we knew a lot of people that were going down to the city or going to LA or and pushing like, you know, or with companies that were pushing the edge like a lot more. And we were like, there's just no reason we can't do that here. But no one's just like kind of really tried. And the other thing I think that stopped a lot of people too was like, you know, like a lot of one-man band shops and like a lot of smaller infrastructures, and no one kind of took like a risk on like a bigger company structure. But that's like how, you know, you guys probably know, like that's how like you start pushing the edges. Like you get like a lot of good people in one room that like have like a good chemistry together, and then you keep rocking it. Versus like, I think the whole freelancer hiring a freelancer who hires a freelancer route was just like very, very tough on a lot of people.
Yeah, that I mean, that everything you just said brings up so many questions. I mean, we know a thing or two about the transition from like indie films into commercial. I mean, we sort of grew up in indie features as well. Still do work in them and support them and stuff. But definitely a lot more advertising and marketing work. But also, you know, if you could just keep talking a little bit about like starting a business. I mean, that's like kind of, you mentioned, you know, the commitment to like make it bigger, and the commitment to like not just do the little things, but to grow. You know, in this industry can be like really challenging. So, you know, especially creatively and maintaining, you know, that through it. You know, maybe you guys could talk a little bit about that.
Ramen is a good start. I don't know, like not really eating for like the first like 2 months. No, yeah, it was. I don't know. It was like one of those things where I was like, admittedly, like really young. I was like, we were. Sully was just getting out of college. I was a year out of college by that point, and I pretty much it's like I think how much you have to lose. Like I had like nothing to lose. So like the whole thing was like, if this fails, like what's the worst case scenario? Like I go home, but like I think kind of not being revenue driven at first was the best thing ever, because it was more of like we just want to make really cool ideas. And I think I always tell people like that most clients hire us because of a cool idea that actually had nothing to do with our most expensive project until like probably like recently. Like most of the time it was like the weird personal project we did that year that everyone ends up seeing and like they're like, wow, like could you make something cool like that for our company? You know, and we'd be like, yeah, great, absolutely. But I think also, and this is just like me as a human, but I think the best thing that ever happened to me personally was working with Sully, and this is where the bromance is going to become very obvious, right? But you know, I think when you start something as a one-man band, you have nothing to lose and you have nothing to fight for. But like our first year was like a fighting year. Like we both like struggled, you know, and then probably into the second year too. And it was like one of those things where when you take the chance on like working with other people, then you have like other people that are like relying on this to like be successful. And so the more we kept growing, the more people relied on it being successful. So you know, you just like let's just keep doing the mission, you know. And I think some people think that of that as a responsibility, and other people like me see that as like a gift and an opportunity. And so I think, you know, some people like that, like masochists like me, like love that, you know, like that chip on the shoulder to always be like figuring out what's next. But yeah, I don't know. It's I wish I could say something more specific, but I think at the heart of the whole thing, it has been, I'm an artist for sure. I also enjoy business a lot. And I like surrounding myself with good people, and I've more and more come to the realization that I personally am not that great at a lot of things, but there's a lot of people who are. and so I would prefer to surround myself with those people so I learn from them, you know.
Yeah. You think the masochist mindset comes from starting in indie films?
Yeah, man.
Dude, Sully got it so good too from one of the films, man, because this director was like on his case, you know,
man,
like that nothing could have prepared us better.
But no, yeah, no, I think that plays into it. There is like a love of, I mean, I feel like in any of this kind of like starting out in this industry you have to have some level of, you know, loving that struggle a little bit and being like, nah, I'm gonna push through, I'm gonna make it. So yeah, I think that definitely, like the masochistic kind of like, yeah, we're just gonna try our hardest at this and see what happens, definitely played a role in it for sure.
Can we just call it like a fearless nature?
There you go.
No. Yeah, we can, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a very scary first year.
I feel like you and me though.
But you're still like pitching things that other people would not dare to pitch because they'd be full of fear. So let's not call it masochism.
Yeah.
Let's call it fearless
like,
nature.
I like that.
I think the best part about that whole thing, and yeah, Leah, you know more than anybody, like when we go into pitches, like we're of stuff that like other people like wouldn't pitch, it's mostly because if worst case scenario, they're like, you're crazy, we get to agree with them, you know, so at least we're on the same page.
Right.
So like they're like, oh no, that's insane, you can't do that. We're like,
it's a beautiful thing.
We can come up with a more conservative idea, I guess, but you know.
I just chalk our success up to blind luck and tomfoolery, man. That's just
Leah, so how did you get working with the Optic Sky team?
Well, I came into it sort of after the show reel that you guys showed there. And through a dear friend who I work with as much as I possibly can, was unavailable and kind of hooked me in with these guys, and it's love.
What was the first project?
Datto.
Okay, great. You're leading us.
no.
No.
The first one was Independent Health.
Independent Health.
That's true.
Yeah. But that was not a good representation.
You almost had a perfect segue.
Yeah, you almost gave us a perfect segue.
I tried.
I was like really fishing for that to happen and work out well.
I mean, I've been kind of doing this a long time, and these guys have something really special. And I'm happy to jump on their coattails any day.
Well, let's take a look at Datto Built for You, which all you guys worked on. We thought this project's really cool, and there's a lot of moving parts, and it's just really impressive. So, behind the scenes, Luke.
You're more than an IT guy. You are your customer's backbone, their protector. It doesn't matter if you're a one-man shop, working out of your apartment, basement, bedroom, whatever, we've all been there. You've got more people on your team than you can count, and you've got more power at your fingertips than you even know what to do with you, because you've got us. And we're like an accelerator, no, an enabler, or a growth enabler. We believe that there's no limit to what a business can do with the right technology. And when your team grows, because you know it will, and you have to get that office space you've been looking at, you know, the one with the huge windows, we'll grow right along with you, connecting you, backing you up, with marketing tools, sales and technology training, internet that you can access anywhere at any time, all while protecting you and your client's business. And if a client's data ever gets lost, every kilobyte of it, for whatever reason, you'll have 24/7, 365 support to get it all back. No interruption. And inevitably, when you own that whole building and you've got clients everywhere, we'll never stop enabling. We'll help you scale into markets you didn't think you could reach, innovating with solutions built to help you thrive before you even need them. Solving for tomorrow. Datto. Built for you.
That is so impressive. I mean, that's like, I feel like that's like the unicorn of like commercial, like small commercials, like a single take, moving set pieces, things flying in and out, and you guys pull it off. I mean, I've been involved in ones trying to pull that off, and doesn't always work. So could you guys just tell us about how that project came about?
Oh man, that's
Datto was actually one of our first clients ever.
It's true. It's true.
Way back when, me and we were at an event at RIT for like companies that had come out of RIT. It was this little like gala thing, and in Austin, the CEO of Datto at the time, and the guy who founded it was there and saw we had like a little booth up with some videos, and he was like, "Hey, you guys should come up and do video work for us." And I was like, "Yeah, sure. I don't even know who you are." And so we found out who they were, and we were like, "Dang, like this is a big company that we could potentially have as a client." So me and Aaron got in a car and went down there and drove down to where's their headquarters in?
It was in Connecticut. I'm trying to remember of course I'm forgetting the city, but yeah, it's down in Connecticut.
Yeah, so we met with them, and they were like, "Hey, we like you guys. We'll work with you at some point." And we were like, "Cool." And then like we waited for a while, and then we did a commercial for them, like a broadcast commercial. Like a couple years later, they were like, "Hey, remember us? We want you to do stuff now." And so this time they came to us, and they had like a plan. We wanted to do this kind of anthem spot, and we came up with the idea of it being, you know, a one take kind of like theater piece. And they were just like, yeah, they're a really fun company to work with, because you pitch them something and they say, yeah, cool, that sounds great, yeah, I love that. Like, and then their feedback's always great, but they really do like just kind of like let you go and let you run, and it was fun. It was a really fun project to work on.
Yeah, man.
At this point, had you guys done anything like this with like moving set walls and a continuous take, timed lighting cues?
The other Datto commercial.
Oh yeah, that's true. Oh my gosh, yeah.
The first Datto commercial. Yeah.
We did it on location. So the last Datto commercial that we did was this one. It wasn't a one taker, but it was made to look like one. So we had like kind of cut points with like wipes and stuff, but it really looked like a one taker. And a lot happened. We pretty much kind of blew up an office, but but it was shot on location. So we actually found this gem of a location. We replaced all of the all the lights with daylight, all of the classic like office like drop ceiling TA bulbs with like daylight bulbs, like just completely daylit the whole office, and just like messed with all the cubicles, and it was great. But we didn't do that in studio until this one.
Yeah. That was a new thing for us in studio.
It was a new thing for the studio.
Yeah,
it's true.
After watching, a few of your pieces, I sort of took away the production, noticed the production design right away and the large set pieces and, how well it had been done. And Leah, maybe you can talk a little bit about sort of that process. And I'm curious if that sort of stemmed from the inspiration is sort of we're working with Leah, we can now do this, or was it we want to do this, now we're working with Leah? How did that all kind of come together?
I think, on my end, I didn't really realize sort of how big it was going to be and really how scary. I had never worked with these guys on this sort of a level before. And I personally loved the idea of it feeling sort of theatrical. That was kind of, for me, it felt like theater. And the backdrops kind of emerged out of that idea. And, when I look at it back, I always think to myself, that could have been stronger. I wish, in a way, I wish we would have seen more of the things that were going on behind the scenes,
Yeah. You always will notice the things that we'll never miss.
Of course. Right. Like the tree that appears in all the scenarios that grows by 3 feet per year. There it is. There's
it's in all three scenes. It starts off as a little baby tree in the home office.
It's on his desk, and by the end, it's 4 feet tall. But, working with these guys, there's sort of a fearless creativity that if you open yourself up for it, allows for really great things to happen and allows for a really great experience. For me, both the bigger jobs that I've done with them have led to me feeling like I was better at what I do.
Awesome.
I would like to interject though to say that we definitely had an idea of what we wanted to be, but Leah, I think to your point, James, Leah enabled us to take that to a whole new level, because this was that studio that we shot in was really new at the time. One of the main reasons that we really liked the idea of it is not just because of the size, because it had a lowering grid. And so all these logistics where things were moving up and down, or doing different lighting cues, and we could do it from an easy switchboard, which was nice. But the way Leah ran the department was really incredible for us, because I think Sully and I were thinking very theatrically about the choreography, and it's really a beautiful thing when you get to me as a cinematographer, Sully as a director who has a brilliant mind with motion. We were able to just be in the choreography of it, and Leah really was, it's so nice when she's cool. So you want this office to look like it's growing and these different locations offer this, and she's the one coming to us basically being here's how I could see that growth going from a design standpoint, and it allows us to just basically be awesome, here's a couple thoughts, rather than sometimes you get that that vibe where you just kind of have to be over the shoulder a little too much. But there's this other contractor named Brian Duckworth who we and Leah share a love for, who comes in and sometimes is the dude who when Leah's I want this design, and we're we have no idea how to make that. He kind of can come in and be this is how we're going to make that. That power outlet working, for example. That's in the middle of the studio.
I was going to ask if that was working.
Oh yeah. The whole wall. The whole wall was set up for power.
Yeah. So so he thinks it's so cool. But that, Leah, I don't remember, that was you requesting that because of one of the way that we saw the fixtures, like just your eye on realizing that we were either need that or we were going to see stuff we didn't want to see. It's like stuff like that where I think this production for us allowed us to take our game to a whole new level because Leah just has an eye to see things like that when we're in like La La Land, running around
Right.
with like
Well, it's not
our
your
hand
job
camera.
to do things like that,
Yeah.
My
Yeah.
job to do that stuff.
And it's also like the one thing I do like also is, especially about a project like this and working with Leah, is just the attention to like the little small details or the things that you don't even notice that set the scene. Like I think was it Leah? Was it your idea to put the ceiling fan in that room? And we had this like little tiny room set up, and it looked great. And she was like, "We should put a ceiling fan." And I
wanted it to be like so low that it was almost grazing, that the blades were almost grazing.
Yeah.
When
I
he
was like,
stood up.
the guy's like 6'4" too, and I was like, I don't know how great an idea this is. Also, I don't know how we're gonna rig that, but like that totally sells that whole home office scene for me. Is when we pull out and we see the ceiling fan. Because you never see you don't see the ceiling, but it sets you up in this small enclosed space and allows it to expand so much. So it's just stuff like that, Leah, bomb.com.
Okay.
So conceptually, when you guys were planning this, you knew the space, you knew you were going to have access to like these raising and lowering grid pieces. How did you map out like the path? Like what did that look like? And then how did that lead to designing the set?
Tape, man.
Lots of tape. So many pieces of paper. Just like there's so many. It got to the point where like I had an idea of how I wanted it to flow, and Brian and Leah would come to me and be like, "What do you think of this layout for the studio?" And I'd look at it, it'd just be like lines on a piece of paper. I'd be like, "It's fine, let's do that." But eventually, they landed on one, and it was perfect. Like we went through like so many different iterations of what that set could have been. So I'm really happy about the way.
Notes on napkins.
And I think the toughest part of the choreography was just the client section, right? Because like, the thing with the studio, it's big, but it's not that big. So it's like 7,000 square feet, which is like big, but like us filmmakers, where I think like we can say this like industry wide, we're really good at making big spaces small. Like if there's one thing we're amazing at is like making miniatures of like giant spaces, and because so many things were happening at the same time, that corner was. I remember Matt was like, "No, I need this corner for like equipment and to like put people who need to like run out of the frame or whatever." And we were like, "We can't have that corner." And the client thing, because we were shooting anamorphic, we could really spread the frame, but at the same time, that we really struggled with that choreography because the way it turns and then turns back like had to be like really. I think we went through like 4 revisions of that because that whole. And we still moved it like days before the shoot, right? Like, did we move that whole set just like over like?
Yeah, there was a lot of.
Were you planning to? I mean, at what point were you certain that you were going to be seeing like production equipment in the shot? And like, did you embrace that, or was the plan always to embrace that?
That was I originally wanted to actually. Like my original thought kind of it was a little bit smaller, and it was going to be like you'd actually see the crew like doing the stuff. But then like all the crew that we like hire were like, "No, I don't want to be in it." And we were like, "Okay." So I guess
logistically, they all had jobs to do, man.
Yeah, exactly. They did all have jobs to do. So so all the people who are like crew in the background, those are actual talent that we like. That we had to like find. Most of them are local. We had some people fly in who are like in the main extras and the main actor and everything like that. But yeah, so everybody you see is actually a talent, not an actual crew. But what can you do?
There was a lot of meta with that job too, right? So like, because we were like we were having the whole crew conversation. We were like, well, if they're crew, are they just like wearing like black? But like, isn't it supposed to represent like Datto crew helping the business?
Yeah, we're
so, like,
not going to see them.
we went with like the Datto
Yeah, yeah.
pose because we were like, the whole point is that the crew's helping you behind it. It was just like it was like a meta. It was
There's a lot of
worthy to be-
layers. If you watch it a couple different times, there's several different narratives going on with like a couple of the people in the background.
Mhm.
That's funny. Augie said that yesterday when we were watching this, or a couple of the things. He was like, "I just love these like meta layers."
Dude, if you watch the other Datto spot too, there's some really funny shit happening in the background of the actual Datto spot. That's like not the actual main focus, but it's pretty funny, man. Like a couple people make cameos in different shots, and then they like tell a full story, but you never see it because it's in the background.
Mhm. Well, their wardrobe changes.
Mhm.
You know, the same people are in both of the larger scenarios, and some of them fully change wardrobe and are in. You know, I can't even remember how you pulled it off.
It's funny. I was trying to find the shot. We had the shot where they pulled that one thing off, where they go from like into the second office and like whatever, and it looks like from behind the scenes, it looks so. I really wish we could make a whole series of just like behind the scenes films with just the real audio, because it's so ridiculous. It's like all these people like kind of whispering, like, hurry.
Yeah.
And just like a bunch of people just like shoving each other to get to their desk, you know. It's ridiculous. They were amazing, actually. I was surprised. It's like, I can't remember. We got it like sooner than we thought we would, right? Like it was really tough the first part of the day, and then like we got it like relatively soon, which was crazy.
Yeah.
And we kept going.
Yeah, it was crazy.
So how many days was it?
You guys used, you know? Like how far into the takes?
I can't remember.
Wait, what was your question, Leah? I didn't hear it.
I was curious what take you used.
We used the second to last take.
It's always the way.
So,
Yeah, the last take had also stuff that I loved in it, but didn't have enough confetti at the end, and I was like, nah.
Man,
gotta have all that confetti.
Hell yeah.
So how many days was this production total? Like, did you guys have 3 days for set build, 1 day? How many shoot days?
lots of days for set build. I think we were in there for at least a week. A lot of that was the rigging of the backdrops, which were 70. I don't know how long now. I don't remember how long they were now. I think they were each maybe 70 feet long.
I think they were. I think they were 40. I want to say they were 40 feet long, or one was like 50 or 60, and one was like 40. I think they were like different, but those things were beasts.
They were.
Were you at all afraid that like the set wall was going to raise and just like crack and like snap? Or
no, the wall is the same, right? So it was the center wall in the middle of the studio. The backdrops on either side went up and down. So
and that logistic was hilarious.
We were using that drop-down grid that Aaron was talking about earlier to rig these immense, they're theatrical backdrops. They're made for theater sets.
Cool question. Were they both? They were both on the drop-down grids, right? Or was one of them hand cranked and one of them? Okay.
Yep.
But I think the trick was, and this was like the biggest logistical nightmare that we like finally figured out with the two walls, because the one has to go completely up. So the one that's on the side, like that last office where like they're all cheering and the confetti happens, the backdrop that's behind that is the backdrop that you see. The city backdrop that's behind that office has to come all the way down. But where that was placed, because of the size of the studio, we couldn't have it all the way down when we were in the second office. And so that one we actually had to do like an actual drop. It had to like completely, like we had to rope it so it actually like drop way down. But the other one, we were able to cheat it. So that brick wall that you're about to see in the background here, we were able to cheat that one because you only see it in this scene. And we were able to then, after this scene, just electronically with the grid, raise it up just high enough that it was out of our way, which was the lifesaver. Because the drop down was the scariest part, because like it could just Two of them drop down wrong and ripple and.
Yeah, and there's a metal pole at the bottom of those drops, you know, and people are moving fast. And
I was gonna say there's about 20 people also just scattering too, so you don't want to like drop a 60-foot backdrop on them.
Yeah, and originally there were lights in the second scenario that you're about to see now. There were these beautiful, very slick, modern lights that were supposed to drop down, but we couldn't do. It was just an impossibility at the end. We could not make all of the pieces work. And you know, let's face it, we were also doing this during a really terrible snowstorm.
I forgot about that. Dude,
oh my God,
it was such a bad blizzard. Oh my gosh. You ended up staying in Rochester in a hotel for
I was stuck.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah.
Oh God, I remember that. We were all like, are our actors gonna be able to fly in? Like, who are we? What are we gonna do if we can't get our actors?
Oh my gosh, that was a time.
That was crazy. I totally forgot that happened.
How did you? They just flew in?
They walked. We made them walk.
Yeah,
barefoot. Uphill.
Yeah, both ways.
No, it was like the worst of the blizzard was when we were doing the set build. I think you're right. It was like a little over a week, and so that was the week that it hit really badly. But when it was time for the actors to come in, the weather like changed.
It was fine.
Yeah, I remember Brian being upset because he was trying to like ship in like like 2 rooms worth of building materials.
Oh yeah.
During a freaking blizzard, and everyone was like, "No," and then like he had the problem with like the wood banding and stuff bending. And stuff
the floor, that rollout flooring.
Oh, jeez.
Was stuck. Everything was stuck. You know, everything was stuck in places it didn't want to be.
Dude, my car was stuck. I got it like totally stuck in the snow in like the parking lot. I like it just went past a little bit on the hill in the parking lot. My car was completely Brian had like towed me out. It was terrible.
Oh, man.
I think we need to also say it wasn't just a blizzard. It was like -20.
Yeah, wasn't it the polar vortex? Was that what it was?
Yeah.
It was. Yeah.
Isn't that always the way? You're trying to do something really complicated, and then there's a -20-degree blizzard. That always happens.
Yeah.
Dude, I say when it rains, it pours, but it was definitely frozen rain for sure.
It was worth it.
It was for sure.
Aaron, you had mentioned that, I think you said you had used anamorphics on this, so that's only increasing your field of view, seeing offset. I'm sure that didn't make things any easier. How'd you move the camera on this? Was this a Steadicam?
This was all Steadicam. Sully, it was like day one of this idea. It was like, dude, I want to shoot this anamorphic. And I was like, yes. And so, it was all Steadicam. We have this really great Steadicam op, Pete, who lives in New York City, and he just always kills it. And he came up. We were trying to dial in the move a bunch, but as far as the field of view, I think it actually was like what gave us the biggest advantage on the spot. So like we talked about it a lot, but I think because like so much of what's going on is the fun. You could make the argument like having more vertical space didn't really like show us more in the studio, because actually the vertical we needed to our advantage because we were like getting walls barely out of like level of the screen and things like that. But from like a horizontal view, it allowed us to do like these seamless transitions from like one office space to like, you're entering the other office space and there's not too much dead space between, each part of the shot. But that's just, I mean, Sully, that's his mind for sure. I definitely just, I just definitely supported him on the choreography, but Sully really understood what he wanted with the choreography for sure when we went into it. So I was along for the ride.
And did you have, obviously there's a lot of like lighting control happening. Did you have a lighting plot going into this? Or
oh yeah, that's my game for sure. I dorked out hard on this one. So actually it was a little ghetto, like how we actually pulled it off. So the studio is super well outfitted. So each beam of the lowering grid, it's not like a grid. It's just I-beams. or I-style beams, I should say, that lower individually. So there's like a row of 7 and a row of 7. And so each of them has their own power, and if you plug in that power, there's a whole circuit board in the back of the studio, and you literally can turn on and off circuits. And so we also had a tablet going on. So one of our Genie guys was controlling a lot of the sky panels, doing fades up, changing colors of them. Like we did like a whole, every change you can imagine we did in this. But we figured out a queue system where the only way to make all the changes we were doing happen at the same time was that someone was on the circuit board literally turning on and off the circuits of the beams.
Wow.
Someone was on a tab. Actually, sorry, 2 people are on tablets. One person was on a tablet who was dealing with the sky panels. The other person was dealing with the steer tubes, because it was a separate app. And so we brought in a really an AD we had the pleasure of working with a long time ago in for this one, and he was great because he was like immediately, he was like, okay, numbered queue system. He was like very calm. He's like, numbered queue system. I will yell out a lot of numbers, and you guys will do this in order. So we had like 40 queues, and he would just be like, 1, 2.
So you guys could have used like a real board op for this, but you made it work.
Well, the thing was, it almost made less sense. We were thinking about it, so we could use the board op, but the way the studio's outfitted and the way that we were like outfitted for it, like running DMX in, having everything for the board, physically, we like realized it. Physically, we looked into a bunch of boards. 2 hands was not enough to do all that, and unless it was like dialed in and preset. And what we realized was we changed so much of the cues all the way up into the day of the shoot, because really, Leah, correct me if I'm wrong, by the time we actually had the set built and like I was able to light it, we were at the point where we had like 2.5 days or something to like, or like 2.5 or 3 days at most to like dial everything in. And so when we started doing all the run throughs, we just had too many impulsive changes. And so, yeah, we were just like, queue system, 1, 2. And like someone at the circuit board was like, it was great.
It should be said that you guys do this, and I'm not used to it, and I love it so very much. The whole idea of the full day rehearsal before you even get a camera up on it, really, that's key to this thing, and really, it's why we were able to get it on. Probably, I don't know, take 17, I bet.
I think we did 17 takes.
I think we did 13 takes.
I think we did like 13, yeah.
I think maybe we had confetti for like 22 takes. So
22 years in the studio, for sure. They still find confetti in there.
Yeah. They're still finding confetti in that studio.
I found a piece of confetti in the pump housing of my washing machine a year and a half later.
It's never gonna go away.
Yeah, but my point is that having that day to really refine each and every piece of it, to really see it, to be able to let it sort of sink into you and get all those problems flushed out is the only way to do this, I think, successfully.
Yeah.
For me, it was a lot of that full day of rehearsal was really important too, because like if you have 15 extras, you don't exactly know all of their, you can't plan out all of their actions like in your mind. You need to see that happening in front of you to like actually have direction. And a lot of the characters also, the actors just kind of like, they do their own thing. They'd be like, well, what if I just did this? And it was really kind of a working together to like make that whole thing kind of happen the way it did and get people from point A to point B while being able to, deliver their performance and stuff. And that was fun, man. Wrestling 15 different talent was a hell of a time.
I think you need a prep day for that. That's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Yeah.
So the next project we want to look at, you don't have quite as much background talent, but I would argue the set maybe was just as ambitious. It's you did a full campaign for Wegmans and their meals to go. I guess a service where you can take a meal to go. But we're going to look at one of 4 videos, I think. And the first one is called Lunar, where you built the moon. Which is crazy. Big play.
So crazy.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap.
Zork?
Yeah, man, that's me.
Got your meal here.
Ah, sweet. My veggie crust pizza. Thanks.
Hey, do you mind if I put a flag up over there? It's not really a big deal, but like...
Yeah, man, go for it.
Thanks.
I don't think those car throttles we heard in the background, they're part of the commercial, but...
No, I think that was me. Truck drove by.
Yeah, I just love this. I think that it's like the moon and the lunar lander looks incredible. I don't even know if that alien's CGI or if that's in a costume. Like, I mean, the whole thing is really cool. Can you guys just tell us about this project? Did you come up with the concepts for these? I don't know. Just walk us through how this went down.
We did come up with the concept for these. We actually we wrote about 3 whole different campaigns because Wegmans was like, we want to do something for Meals to Go, but we're not exactly sure what shape we want it to take. You guys just go ham. So me and Corey sat down in a room for a week and ended up writing like a couple different campaigns. Some were a little bit more lifestyle, and one of them was this like moments in history. And the original kind of tagline that we were kind of kicking around was making delivery history. And man, this wasn't even the craziest one. So like some of them were just bonkers. Sometimes I look at the campaign, as much as I love this campaign, I'm like, oh man, but
what?
Yeah, but the Moses one was so good. But the Julius Caesar one was so good. We had so many different like areas in time. But yeah, that was the process was really just a ton of writing until we found the sweet spot that Wegmans was like, yes, that's the direction.
Yeah, they're really
also speaks to that fearless nature that I was talking about before, because, frankly, I can't imagine this client, deciding to do this had it not been for Sully and Aaron's powers of persuasion.
I thought we agreed on labeling that as masochism. Isn't that what we said?
Yeah, it's masochism.
Yeah, I feel like it's one of those interesting things. We've had like this great relationship with this client because they kind of came to us like in the at a time when they were like changing things internally and like they wanted to like start doing some different type of content. I think we kind of worked our way up with them. We did a lot of lifestyle stuff and a lot of like more fun lifestyle stuff. And this was like one of those things that for them this was like a completely new product. And so we were like we gotta like make a crazy impression. And the thing is, like, they from the beginning encouraged, like, what I love about them is they were like, yeah, like we here's like some of the premises that we've been thinking about, and they're like really collaborative, and they're just like, what do you guys think? And then we just go back into like our office and we're like, thinking up all this stuff, basically like it just gets so wacky, and they're amazing because they like tone us back. They're like, okay, hold on. But they don't discourage it at all. They're like, stay with these crazy ideas. But they have such an established brand, right? Like everything has to be so like on brand, for good reason. Like their brand, like the culture behind their brand is like, fanboys and girls all over it. But and I think what was awesome about this one though was like, I feel like that for everyone involved, this was scary, right? Like if they were like, this has to go well. This is like, there's so much, much risk for them. And for us, we were like, we have no idea, like in a lot of ways, how we're gonna create the room, we're gonna figure this out,
The alien was a crazy stress because we, oh, there it is. Yeah, the alien was crazy because like there was a lot of back and forth about what the alien should be. The original thought of the alien was that he was going to be like 6'5". He's going to be like towering over Neil, and it was going to have like 3 eyes, and it was actually going to be like relatively terrifying. And you know what I mean? And then that would make, of course, the juxtaposition of him just being like, oh yeah, that's me. Oh, my veggie crust pizza. But Wegmans then came back and was like, we want him to be like short, and we want him to be like cute. We want him to be cute. We want him to be everybody's friend. And we were like, oh, okay, that's completely different than what we have just been planning on for like a week. So there was a lot of things where we had to just kind of turn on our heels really fast. And I'm glad that we did, because this was really, really fun. Just, we'd never done stuff with prosthetics. He is actually prosthetic. So it's an actor in prosthetics. The only thing that's not real about him is his eyes blinking. We had the CGI company do that in post.
Oh.
No, he looks so good.
Doesn't he look good, man?
Yeah.
That kid, he's also like the nicest dude in real life. Like, we cast for the nice alien, we cast literally the nicest guy unintentionally.
So nice.
Like,
he was.
Oh my gosh.
So he cannot see shit out of his face. Like he had 2 little holes in his pupils that had like a screen so he could see. But so we had an alien wrangler on set who just like sat by him and like talked to him to make sure he didn't go crazy, and gave him water through a straw.
Yeah, no aliens were harmed on this set.
No,
it's true.
But that guy was just so pumped. He was like, "This is the greatest."
He was such a trooper.
He's like, I can't see. I'm like so sweaty, and I just love
I want to
everything.
hear more about this. Like, the history of the evolution of this alien is really interesting to me. So like, you guys wanted to go big and scary, and then they wanted like small and ET cute. And like, I feel like the compromise ended up being perfect. Like, that's like, I want to hang out with that alien. But how did you come to the middle? Like, how did you re-pitch that to them?
It was a lot of just, they gave us their notes. I didn't know what was going to be available to us. And also there was the question of like budget. How much are we actually going to spend on this alien? And we looked into getting custom prosthetics, and we were like, holy crap, that's expensive. And then we did this entire I went through this huge search for prosthetics and found a couple different companies that had already like custom made prosthetics that you could piece things together. So it's like a different piece. So there's like it's like a piece for the chin, a piece for like the jawline, a piece for like the head, and his hands, that all were from different. Yeah, that were all from different sets. We like send them those, and I had one of our illustrators draw up like a design of like what these different pieces would look like, and eventually we just had to swap out pieces until they were cool with one, and it just turned out being
you Mr. Potato Head and Alien together. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But I mean, in the end, the alien was absolutely custom.
Yeah.
He was a custom alien that was made for them out of pre-made pieces.
Yeah.
Even his skin, I had been given a beautiful little present of one piece of chocolate from a custom chocolatier. And when I saw it, I said that, like, I was working on this project at the time. And I said, like, this is the way I want the alien skin to look. And I took a picture of this one piece of chocolate and I sent it to LA. And I said, this is the way I want his skin to look. I mean, Sully gave me the colors, but like, I knew I just wanted that, like, that was what it had to be.
And it does. It looks like he's got that chocolate face.
So good.
It's a friendly alien.
Got that sweet chocolate face.
So I mean, with the astronaut costume, was that a rentable item, or was that like just as difficult to find?
That is the costume that Ryan Gosling wore in First Man. Yeah.
No way.
There's like one company.
So dreamy.
Yeah, the guy who we had a spacesuit tech, and he came and like knew all that there was to know about this suit and could beguile you for hours. And also like the people who had worn it in the past.
Yeah. He's
but,
traveled with that suit for 22 years.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He knows that suit.
My friend Rory Bruin, if you're watching, he knows that suit too. He was an art director on First Man.
Oh,
but that's
sweet.
Oh, nice.
How long did it take you guys to build the moon?
8 billion years.
Well, I had an initial thought about it, and usually my initial thoughts are shit or turn out that way. But, and sometimes we get so focused on, like, you grasp on to that initial thought and you think that that's the only way it can be done. So I had this initial thought about using old school blow-in insulation, like paper, wet paper. And that was what we went with. You can
like
see
paper mache
lapse video. So we kind of built this berm over the course of, I don't know. I guess once we started actually building the set, maybe a week. All of it had to be tapped down once it was blown in. We had to reset it and tap it down. There was some crazy process involved.
There was some long nights of.
Yeah.
Those are people literally like patting down the insulation with their feet.
With bare feet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait.
Now, Leah, did you know how to get like the right texture and stuff, or were you just were you consulting with other?
These guys gave me some really beautiful reference, and I knew that Aaron was going to go with the single source, hard light situation, and I knew that that when our astronauts stepped down off of the ship, that whole thing couldn't rattle like it was a piece of junk. But truly, we didn't know how we were going to do it. I mean, this is a once in a lifetime job for me. I guarantee you nobody's ever going to come to me again and say, can you build 5,000 square feet of the face of the moon and the original lunar lander? It's never going to, nothing I ever thought about.
We'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, let's please. But once we found somebody that worked with this blow-in insulation, which is totally antiquated, they don't use it anymore. So we had to find somebody that knew how to do it, that had the old equipment, that was willing to do it because they thought the idea was cool and they wanted to be a part of it, Because these guys blow insulation into people's attics for a living. Like, they don't know of this crazy world that we're in. Once we found all that, and Aaron and Sully were both very definitive about how it had to look really dusty, so that paper surface was the original surface, and then that all had to be tapped down by foot. And then over that was literally dust that we were spreading with flour sifters. That we had tried to sort of custom mix so that the color would match, so that in between takes, we could go back in and dust out the footprints with the flour sifters. It was kind of great.
Sounds like a great cleanup, a wrap out.
It's a good thing Matt's not on this.
The crazy part, though, is actually, speaking of Matt, is that the challenge he had to figure out was that I don't know if you see in this time lapse video, like the left of the screen, you'll see like a weird like theatrical backdrop. Is that the night that we shot this? To your point of it being 3 other spots, Zach, the night that we shot this, we had to roll the whole floor up on one side of the studio so we could shoot the other vignettes that we're shooting the next day. So like it was like we literally had to clean up that night so that the next day, I mean, we were trying to capitalize the budget for the campaign to make sure that like we were being really efficient. The most efficient way was like that night, roll up the floor and let whatever dust settle and kind of sweep it all up on one half of the studio on the non-lunar lander half, and then that half of the studio the next day we were shooting. Actually, we ended up doing did we end up doing the whole floor because it actually ended up being easier than we thought?
No.
No,
because-
the half floor.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then
we
the extra we had
were
2 free
making,
spots.
we were making moon surface angels with the client afterward.
We were, man. My clothes never recovered from that.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
If you just a word to the wise, if you make moon angels in paper insulation, it feels bad on your body. It's not good.
Better than fiberglass, boys.
It is better than fiberglass.
That's true.
I'm glad we didn't go the fiberglass route. We did actually. We bounced around a lot of different ideas. We were like crushed rock. We were like, nope, that's right out. And then we were like kitty litter, and we like actually entertained the idea of kitty litter for like a little while.
I bought 8 different bags of kitty litter, and we tested them at your place.
Yeah. Fresh Step has like little blue nuggets in it, and you're like, this isn't moon soil. Put on your game, Fresh Step.
So we talked really, or I think Leah, you mentioned like the hard lighting. I mean, step 1 was creating the moon, getting a great look. I think you guys nailed it on the lighting end of it as well. I mean, what was the approach to actually accomplish that though?
Dude, first of all, like it's kind of awesome to just put one light. Like it's very freeing to know that you just only can do one light on a set. But on the other hand, of course, it's very challenging because like the thing about, I give so much credit to Rick Shannon, the gaffer on the piece, who is just a wealth of knowledge and he's just unbelievable. But you know, when we first talked about it, we were like, well, it's a point light essentially because there is zero diffusion. There's no atmosphere on the moon, so there's zero diffusion, and which means the way it, like unlike Earth, when the sun shines in, it will wrap a certain way because actually our atmosphere diffuses it. So we had to like, once again, the studio is big, but it's not massive. We had to do the math to say how can we best recreate a light source that's from as far away as the moon is from the Earth, and what type of beam does it have to output to be as close to like that type of point light. And so Rick did all this incredible math because that's what he does, and we figured out it was an Arri 18K. We both were like set to a very specific way. We were like, that's the lead out. We looked over the math, we looked over the chart, we were like, absolutely. And then when we got there, our test light was actually an LED light. It was the mole. It was like the huge mole LED light, and we started to entertain this idea. We were like, oh man, it's actually quite a decent output because of the space. Like, is the 18K going to be too much? And it was so funny how the math ended up working out. We ended up doing a 12 bulb on the 18K first, so we were like, no, we need more than the mole, so we did 12 bulb. But when we were doing the exposure, like when him and I did the exposure tests, and based on the math that we wanted, the f-stop that we wanted, it ended up being exactly to the T, a third of a stop over with using the 18K. So we got the exposure we wanted, like directly to the 18K, third of a stop over, like I always expose.
And that actually is the light just blatantly in the shot right there too.
It's true.
Really, I mean, it seems like it would have been a little bigger in frame because that studio, you're right, isn't huge. How far away would you say that light was from Talon?
It's as far as it can be. No, it's about so for this particular shot, we shrunk to your point, we actually dialed in the light a little bit in terms of we barn doored it down just because it wasn't as noticeable. But it was, I would say, diagonally probably about 47 feet away, 48 feet away from where the talent was. So you're right, like not like all that far when you think about it. But yeah, it was just a very specific. We tried like a bunch of different angles. The thing is, like the other challenge we had, before we wanted to rely on CG for like any type of background extension, which we ended up only doing in the last shot, which was cool. Every other shot is actually totally practical. We had to light the angle we had to make the angle of the light work so that you didn't see the edge of the berm. And so that it like totally played that the berm was like you're in kind of like a little bit of a crater. So yeah, it was just like a bunch of micro adjustments each shot for the light, but it was awesome. I mean,
yeah,
one light is very freeing.
You mentioned I think I heard you say you like always overexpose a third of a stop. Did you say that, or did my audio cut out?
Yeah, I usually do because we were shooting on an ARRI. I typically that sensor. I always go daylight, and I always shoot either overexposed by a third of a stop or sometimes up to like 2/3 of a stop. But I just prefer to pull that down rather than ever have to crank it up. And I think, for clean blacks and things like that, I always like to go over just a little bit of that sensor.
So did you use, I know the approach was like a single source, but did you have fill cards or anything? You can clearly see still detail in like certain shadow areas. Was that fill cards being brought in, or were you bringing that out in the grade?
So it's an interesting mix. We tried fill cards and realized that it actually took away from the effect of it. But the floor is such a light gray, and the light is so powerful. So even though we blacked out the majority of the studio actually raw is a light gray. So everything around the studio is light gray. So, in 7,000 square feet, if you fire up an 18K, which is basically like literally the sun, both in the context of the commercial and in terms of output, it bounces everywhere. And so actually it ended up being like a natural bounce that worked for us. And in fact, some cases we had to like negative fill it because we didn't want it to bounce. But actually what you saw there, I think we tried to fill a card, didn't even work, but there was so much fill from the rest of the studio because we only blacked it, I think 20 feet high. And it's like a 37-foot clearance on the studio. So
it worked in essence like the moon.
Like the moon. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was crazy.
And what lenses did you use on this one?
We used the sorry, was the Cook S4s, the Cook S5s in this one?
I think it was the Cook S5s.
Yeah.
Did you use those across the entire campaign? Like, what were some of the things you needed to do to keep the campaign consistent?
We did. We used the same ones.
Yeah.
But it's maybe something you can talk to it, but like this spot was a very different spot than the rest of the campaign though. So like there was a consistent like production value, but actually the other spots were like way more social based.
Yeah. The other spots are a lot smaller scale. They're still kind of like set builds, but they're very like minimal sets, only looking one direction, and kind of almost have a little bit more of a theatrical vibe because they have to seem very staged. But yeah, I don't know. We love those lenses. So we, for this, also, they were lenses that we've used previously on other Wegmans pieces as well. And that was the thing is we've had Wegmans as a client for a while. And so we were trying to think about how we had initially wanted to shoot this anamorphic. I did. That's my initial reaction is I was like, well, a new idea. It's going to be anamorphic. I kind of got talked back into using the Cooks for this because they were the lenses we had used for other Wegman spots. So like, even though this was such a departure for them, we were able to keep a similar kind of visual style as some of the other spots just by using the lenses, using that to help help this campaign blend with all the other campaigns we worked with them on as well. So that was sort of the decision behind that.
Nice. You kind of have given us a segue to just the last thing we wanted to quickly talk about because we are kind of running out of time. But and that is the solo series project that we have been kind of collaborating on along with Optics. Who you guys clearly are fans of their lenses, and so are we. So the solo series, the first of a series of videos, came out this week, and we kind of wanted to find an opportunity to do a part lens test, part creative expression, provide a creative outlet for cinematographers and filmmakers while stuck in quarantine. And you guys have been editing these, and I'm really excited about how they're coming out. The first one came out the other day, so we're going to play that real quick and just talk about it.
We observe today not a victory of party, but a celebration of freedom, symbolizing an end as well as a beginning, signifying renewal as well as change. The world is very different now. United, there is little we cannot do. Divided, there is little we can do. For we dare not meet a powerful challenge at odds. Together, let us explore the stars, conquer the deserts, eradicate disease.
So that was shot by Cody Dingfield, who had given us a comment on Facebook earlier. Thank you, Cody, and for contributing that footage. You did an awesome job. Yeah. But obviously, I mean, this project, I think, when we started talking about it and talking to different cinematographers, they were really interested in getting involved. And it just kind of feels like in this time, everyone is looking for some way to keep working safely. Can you guys tell us a little bit about, like, I don't know, just what, you know, your experience cutting these so far? And like, there's not much of a prompt. We've pretty much, you know, given some cinematographers some Cook lenses, only 2 focal lengths usually, sent them out in the field with the prompt of like, we kind of want to see what quarantine means to you. And some of them come back with edits in mind. Some, you know, are asking you guys to kind of sort through that a little more. How's the project going for you right now?
I think the project is going sweet. I edited that first one. We have a freelancer of ours working on a couple of the other ones while I'm on another project. But my experience with that was very similar to, you know, the cinematographers getting the cameras. I was like, what is this? And Aaron was like, well, it's for Cook lenses, and it's with Expressway too. And I was like, oh, what is it? So I got this drive of footage, and I was like, oh, okay, let me see what I'm going to do with this. I don't know, I was just kind of like going through it, and for me, I just felt like, you know, I think I just kind of got the idea that it's supposed to be, you know, that's kind of what it is. They're mini documentaries about, you know, life during this weird time that we're all living in. So it's like it's a lens test with a deeper meaning. And I was just like, oh, I was really inspired by just how open-ended that could be. And then and I decided that I wanted something that had like some kind of emotional drive, some kind of speech. So I went through and I looked at a whole bunch of old speeches and just kind of ended up landing on JFK's inaugural address, because so much of it was so applicable to the time. And wasn't really until after I found that speech that I really started shaping the edit and trying to tell kind of the story that this edit tells of this time. So I'm excited to see what the other ones come out as. I know Tom's is coming out really, really cool, and so yeah, I'm excited to see where it goes.
I was actually going to ask, and I'm glad you kind of just answered that, like where that speech came from, if it was an editorial decision or from the DP. You know, did you like end up sort of like collaborating at all in editorial with Cody, or like how did any of that sort of work?
Yeah, so I talked to Cody about it, and he kind of gave me a sense of kind of like his direction was more, he wanted it also to be open-ended for me as the editor, and was like, I think, I was hearing something a little bit more serious. He initially just thought it was going to be like set to music. And I also initially thought it was going to be set to music as well. So I didn't. So and then I kind of thought maybe we don't need any music, and we just do a speech and do like some sound design, or maybe we just so landed on this music from this guy, I forget his name, and the speech was just kind of a decision that I made, and I'm glad that everybody has embraced it, because
no, I'm glad that added like a layer that, like I said, I was telling you earlier, I'm just watching these for the first time as well, and
right.
it was more, like, just way more than I expected. I would have been impressed with how this came out if it was just music and imagery, certainly, but that additional layers really took it to a whole new like place. It's really well done. It's awesome. Good work.
Sweet, man. Thanks. Thank you, Cody, too, for being awesome.
Yeah, thank you, Cody. We don't really talk about this on this show, but since kind of solo series dives into just like quarantine, and obviously to even do these projects, we ask the DPs to practice social distancing, and it kind of definitely, I think, restricted their abilities. They're pulling their own focus. You can't really even get super close to talent. What are you guys kind of seeing for Optic Sky, and how and the future of production for companies like yours? Like, what sort of changes are you guys kind of seeing coming down the line?
That's a great question. I think obviously everyone in the industry is having that discussion, whether they like it or not right now. And for me, there's a couple things. Maybe I'll speak less to what people think I'm going to say, and the obvious, which is like, obviously we have to practice some new protocols for a while until we get vaccines and things like that. But I actually, as crazy as this sounds, I think it's a wake-up call to the informality of set. So like, we more than anyone have so much fun on set. I'm a hugger, Sully's a hugger. We've converted many of our crew members to huggers, it's totally like a family love type of situation on set. But what I will say is, like, in terms of like formalities, ever since the digital age has become what it is now, I think anyone will tell you, like, if they've been on a set with film and they've been on a set with digital, like, there's like a different type of formality, and there's a different type of respect, I think, for the production aspect as well. And what I think is it's a chance. We obviously have a lot to figure out logistically, and I can go into all those things, and there's gonna be all these protocols and stuff. But it's a chance for the production office on a certain size of set to show how much they care about the crew, and it's a chance for the crew to show how much they respect each other, I think, going forward. And I think that's one of those things where you can love each other all you want, but I think there's a chance to respect each other and re-respect the craft, because when we think about it, like, at the end of the day, what we do is no short of a miracle every single time. We get a group of 40 people together in a room with one mission, complete calibration, and somehow have a crazy amount of fun doing it, but like also, get this insane feat done. And I think as amazing as that also is, I think that when you go back to the formality of like a film set, and you talk about respect of craft, I think everyone has to bring it that much more, because now it's not this casual, like, let me help you out over there. That person has to know their job so well that someone else can't just come over and touch their thing. And I think it's one of those things where it's going to discipline a lot of us, and myself included, like, for sure, to be like, okay, I'm going to prep for this shoot, because if I'm being a respectful crew member, I can't just ask for my buddy to come over and help me. Even if he's in my department, he may not be able to help me in certain ways, which means I have to have my right toolkit with me, my belt, like, whatever tools that I'm supposed to have in my bag. Like, everyone is going to be reignited to be like, I am supposed to be here. And if you're a crew member who's not prepared, then people are going to now suddenly go, hey man, like, we really needed you on this. I don't want to sacrifice my potential help to come over there and put you in danger, put me in danger type of deal. So I think it's going to be a lot. I think a lot of us are scared of kind of losing vibe, but I'm also like, it's an opportunity for us to like regain craft a little bit. So I think that'll be fun, and it will look different for a while. It's going to be smaller crews, and it's going to be, very segmented. Even just thinking about how crafty works and thinking about like how showing up the set works and protocols work there. It's going to be different, but it's production. It's what we do. Everything's different.
Yeah.
One day we build a studio set that's like 3 offices. One day we build the moon. It's like, we're not new to different. Like, we'll just do it.
Yeah,
I think you're right. Like, it's gonna kind of require everyone to kind of refocus and step up their game in a way that maybe digital production has kind of slowly eroded away at, and just like, okay, we're gonna do another take. We're gonna do another take. We're gonna do another take, and just kind of just keep rolling. And like, there's going to have to be a level of preparedness going into things.
Yeah.
And that's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah,
right now, I don't think it's a bad thing at all.
It's going to be a lot harder to wing it. That's
it's going to be a lot harder to wing it.
I wanted to really quickly just to recognize that Cody's in our live comments right now.
Yeah.
He says, "What's up" to everyone. He also mentioned that pulling focus on a 180 millimeter lens by himself was an interesting feat.
With a full frame camera, nonetheless.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Mad respect, man.
I'm surprised we're seeing footage actually in focus for the most part. Like,
good job,
Cody. Stop complaining, man.
Yeah,
you know what? Try the 200 mil next time. You know what I mean? Come on, jeez.
Well, this has been great, guys. Thank you so much for coming on and joining us and talking with us. Leah, thank you as well.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it, and maybe we'll do it again some other time.
Cody also wanted to know what all of our quarantine hair care secrets were.
It's taking it all off, man. It's just taking it all off.
Gone.
It's gone. Whole thing. It's gone.
Ooh, dude.
I think I'm just gonna let it go for as long as until the next global pandemic. I'm just gonna, and then just before that happens, I'm gonna cut my hair.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, this is my favorite part of seeing people during this. Is like what's happening with their face and their head.
Dude, my wife gave me the best haircut I've ever received. I think she gave me a haircut last week. It's better than
man. You're looking good.
Yeah,
This is the first time I've had makeup on in 2 months.
It's great.
Me too. So I appreciate that.
All right, thanks, guys. Really appreciate it, and be sure to update us with future projects. It's exciting to see all the work you guys have been doing. It's really cool stuff.
Dude, we sure will. Thanks for having us on here.
Yeah.
We actually we do have some fun post-production projects that are coming out in the next few weeks. So
we didn't even get to talk about some of the augmented reality stuff you guys are doing. But
cool project.
Yeah, maybe at another time.
Another time, another quarantine time.
Next time.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys. Good night.
Thanks.
Nice.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.